If you're a Christian, you're supposed to forgive everything that happens to you. Well, it's a um, everybody realizes that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it does mean you have to like the person. These are things that everybody says. Um, but it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, and naturally, it might get somebody um, interested in saying exactly what am I supposed to do? What is it that I'm supposed to do if I'm supposed to forgive somebody? I mean, suppose somebody has a drunk driver has run over my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and I'm supposed to forgive him. What does that even mean? I mean, what do you do? Do you just say I forgive you? And that probably isn't sufficient for forgiving anybody or anything. So you can see how it might trouble somebody who's under orders, as it were, to forgive everybody for every ill that's done to you. What it actually means to forgive somebody.
This one's kind of more of a broader question. This is pretty broad. I don't know if this is a good or the right question to ask, but how has being a philosopher kind of shaped how you perceive things such as your everyday life experience, really suffering, joy, death, all these things?
Now, suffering, you mean my suffering or the general existence of suffering?
Let's do both. Let's do both.
I haven't done any suffering, so I can't, except for when my first wife kicked me out. That's about the only bad thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I just managed to get through almost 83 years in this world without uh, anything very bad happening to me.
Well, I guess it's also a question of how you would measure suffering too.
Well, how would you I mean, by any measure,
Yeah.
nothing very bad has ever happened to me, except that one thing.
Okay, then I guess we can do suffering from a everyone in history standpoint collectively.
Well, it comes into my story of the world, then, which is the Christian story. That as I have to think about suffering um, as the role that it plays in salvation history. So, and yeah, naturally, I suppose the way I think about, say, the problem of evil as a philosopher, does certainly deeply influence the way I think about suffering.
Yeah, how do you, I guess,
And so I'm
reconcile it?
not very, eh, look, so suppose I met a woman, say, whose daughter had just died of some terrible, painful disease. And she was cursing God for this. And you know what it would occur to me to say to her? Hey, you already knew that there were hundreds of thousands of other mothers whose children died that way, and that didn't bother you. Why does this bother you? Even I wouldn't say that, right? But I have to bite back saying that. That's why I could never be a member of the clergy. Um, and other philosophers have reported that same feeling to me. Um, so that's one way in which philosophy influences the way I think about suffering. This overly rationalistic, why which I can recognize it as overly realistic, but, um, I can't do anything about its being overly realistic.
Has has it helped you being a philosopher have a better perspective on experiencing life's positive moments such as joy, love, peace, stuff like that?
No, those are things I just experience. I mean, look, um, so a couple of years ago, those things were taken away from me for a while. I suffer from restless leg syndrome. I don't know if it doesn't make much difference what that is, just something that interferes with your sleep. So my neurologist prescribed, um, an opioid called Suboxone for this, and it tipped me off. The it just destroyed my life to me for a few minutes. That is, I was just in despair about, everything. There was, anhedonia, where there's no pleasure, you take in anything. There was this kind of existential despair, whereas, Pascal said, "The eternal silences of the infinite spaces terrifies me." Yeah, I could experience that. Um, it was the most awful thing that had ever happened to me. It lasted 3 or 4 months, actually. I still get twinges of it, every now and then. But what I could do is, um, as a philosopher look, so there's this, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Some that's very helpful to a lot of people in this situation. So I went to somebody who practices that, and it turns out everything they could tell me to do, I'd already invented for myself, by thinking about it philosophically. So, for example, this is not thinking to myself, this is not news. This is a feeling. A feeling does not reveal to you the way reality is. A feeling is just a feeling. Furthermore, feelings don't last forever. They come and they go. This terrible feeling that you're having right now, it will be gone one day. And you don't really believe these things either. You're just having the feeling that you would have, that somebody who did believe these things would have. Um, the feeling of despair is not the same thing as the belief that despair is based on. Um, uh, so almost those when I told the behavioral therapist the techniques I was using for trying to deal with this myself, he would have said, "But that's just what I would have told you to do." Uh, so in that sense, um, when I had lost these things like peace and joy and so on, philosophy did help me to cope with the loss of them.
I'm surprised you didn't count that as the in the suffering chart for the restless what's it called? Restless leg syndrome?
Well, that's yeah, it's suffering if you like, but restless leg syndrome is just this feeling in the back of your knees that keeps you awake at night. It's not even pain. Um, yeah, I guess maybe I could, in addition to maybe I should have added that to the divorce thing is the one time I had suffering. But, um, I recall one of my Zoom friends said to me, "Well, I think psychological suffering is so much worse than physical suffering." And I said, "Oh, no, it isn't. Would if I have to if I have to have this existential despair, uh, I would rather have that than, um, uh, the pain that, a lot of, um, terminal cancer sufferers go through."